Welcome to the Varsity 845 podcast. We're going to talk some Section 9 wrestling here. I'm Sal Interdonato, Times Herald Record wrestling beat writer, here with Josh Conklin. Josh Conklin takes photos of wrestling all over the state and parts of the East Coast, and we watched we watched the state wrestling championships about a month ago. Josh, it's crazy. It's been a month already. It feels like it was yesterday because it's one of the last state competitions that there were before the coronavirus outbreak.
Yeah, like you said, it's been a month now, and we saw some really great wrestling up in Albany a month ago from Section 9, and
it just we just released our Varsity 845 All-Star team on Sunday, and of course the wrestler of the year was Tommy Askey, Pine Bush Senior. 41-0 on the season. In the state finals, Tommy beat AJ Kovats of Iona Prep 8-5. Last year, Kovats beat him 8-5 in the state quarterfinals. I mean, I don't know if you were stunned by the result, Josh, but honestly, I really wasn't stunned by that result with Tommy. I thought going in, I talked to his mom about this for the Wrestler of the Year story. I mean, there's something about going in as the underdog where you just don't really have a lot to lose. And I guess in that situation, he was the underdog in that match. Kovats was ranked as high as 4th or 5th in the nation. And now that win catapulted Askey into the final national rankings. At least Intermat had him at 17 in the nation after that win. What do you think about how that kind of unfolded? I know we were kind of sitting Matt's side, and it was like, wow, this is really going to happen. He's gonna beat Kovats.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly was. I can't really lie. I certainly was a little surprised when, at least before the tournament started. I would have said Kovats would have beat Askey in the finals, but especially when you watch the first minute of the match, Kovats takes him down, and you just think, is this going to be, is he just going to ride this out? Is he going to coast to a win? But then the tide started to turn, and then when he iced it with about 15 seconds left, it was just all the doubt gets removed then, and just showed that Tommy was the better wrestler.
Yeah, it's funny when I was talking to Rich Ormsby for the Wrestler of the Year story. He told me that I watched that. I must have watched that video that's up on Record Online. We have the 152-pound final, almost pretty much the entire match. And at the end, you see Kovats in desperation trying to get that because he needed the takedown. He needed 2 points. He basically needed to get a takedown over Askey in the final seconds to get the win. And you look at it, and he's trying to inside leg trip Askey. And Ormsby was saying all year long, Gabe Galarza, Askey's teammate, that was he would kind of try that move on Askey and wasn't successful at all. So Ormsby knew that once Kovats went to that inside leg trip attempts, that Askey had it in the bag. So really, congratulations to Tom. He's the first Pine Bush wrestler to win the Varsity 845 award. I think we started it about 10 to 12 years ago. We started putting out wrestling teams, and he's the first Pine Bush wrestler. And when you're the first Pine Bush wrestler to win a state title in 30 years, man, what an accomplishment, what a season. We'll talk about Zach Ryder now. I mean, Josh, you're looking at a Menacing Valley 8th grader who now can put state champion on his resume. And before he gets to high school, he has state championship as an 8th grader and a state finalist as a 7th grader. And man, talking to a lot of people, they believe that when it's all said and done, Zach might be the best wrestler in Section 9 of all time.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly has set himself up there to be in that, to be given that title. Of course, obviously with the finalist 2 years ago, champion this year, and then their finals last year, and then you always say you gotta win the next one before you can win 5. But he's set himself up to be on the right pace to be one of the greatest Section 9 wrestlers of all time, at least in high school.
I think that what is really just incredible about his section final, state final match. Sorry about that. George Aruja from Syosset was undefeated, 50-0 going into that match, and Zach pinned him. He just beat him. He pinned him. And I thought that was really pretty. I mean, he locked in the cradle. That's one of his, primary moves there. But man, that's a darn impressive win there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and then to own that match, that's another match where he had the impressive win earlier in the day over Ivan Garcia, but who was the one seed. But then I'm looking at that matchup against Rujao, and I'm thinking, Rujao has multiple wins over Di Bartolo this year, who had beaten Zach twice at Eastern States. So I'm just thinking, I don't know how this stacks up here, but then as the match goes on, you just start to think like he's got this in the bag. He's not losing this one.
Incredible, and it was a great Section 9 state tournament there when you have Joey McGinty placing second at 660 pounds. You had Adam Fenner placing third at 285 pounds, Minisink Valley Junior, and you had James Oostrom of Port Jervis placing third in Division 2 at 220 pounds. Pretty solid tournament for Section 9. And you also had a couple really good performances. You look at the way that two Middletown wrestlers, Justin Morales and Joseph Velasquez, made it to the state semifinals. And Velasquez knocked out the 2 seed in the quarterfinals. Great seasons by them. Those are Varsity 845 first team picks. Also first team picks are Andrew Marchese. He placed 5th in the state at 113 pounds. You have Monroe Woodbury freshman Jordan Brown, 99-pounder. He placed 6th in the state. And you have Alex Greco of Warwick, a freshman, at 99 pounds, who placed 8th in the state. And we can't forget about Ethan Gallo too, Minisink Valley freshman, 182-pounder, first trip up to Albany, medals. I mean, I don't know. There are not many. He might have. I think I remember writing. He's one of the first Minisink Valley freshmen to medal at the state tournament. A 6th place finish at 182. So I mean, all in all, it was a pretty impressive state tournament and a real good season for Section 9. Anytime you can get 2 state champions and have 4 state finalists, with Ross at 152 pounds for Monteora too as a part of Section 9. I mean, that's a pretty darn good year.
Yeah, you can't really complain with those kind of numbers. I mean, and then you to be able to walk away with 2 champs when you're looking at being underdogs in all 4 of those matches on paper at least. You're looked at as the person and not really winning. To be able to come away with 2 of those titles is pretty impressive.
And now, as we look ahead, there's a couple seniors in Section 9 that have made their college commitments. First off, last night, Armel Duke, Middletown senior, 220-pounder. He was a Section 9 finalist. He has committed to Johnson & Wales, a Division 3 school. You have a couple kids going to Oneonta. One, Santos Ocasio from Monroe Woodbury, a senior. Another Section 9 finalist at 120 pounds. He was the top seed in the tournament. And then you have John Antonelli of Marlboro. He's a senior. He's going to SUNY Oneonta also, and he was a 4-time Section 9 Division 2 finalist. And also, SUNY Sullivan has picked up a commitment from Gabe Galarza. We talked about him earlier. Galarza will be wrestling at SUNY Sullivan. He's Pine Bush 145-pound Section 9 finalist. Real quick, Josh, I just want to... we know Joey McGinty's going to Hofstra, the state finalist. Now, Tommy Askey's situation is pretty interesting. Before the state tournament, he's not committed. He's getting some interest from schools as big as Virginia. And then after the state win, after winning the state championship, he's got Iowa contacting him. He's got Oklahoma contacting him. He also has something, possibly a recruiting visit set up to Appalachian State, another Division I school. And I've heard there's been interest from Division II schools and Division III schools, also from East Stroudsburg to Johnston and Wales too. But now you look at what's happening with the coronavirus. I mean, everything's pretty much virtual right now. You're not hopping on a plane and you're not going to Iowa. You're not hopping on a plane and going to Oklahoma right now. All that stuff is on hold and may be on hold for a while. So, I mean, it's just what do you think about the situations now with the way, like, kind of guys who haven't committed yet and now they can't really, it's really got to be really hard for them to make up their minds right now.
Yeah, and I mean, the NCAA is going to come down also with a decision soon on whether or not they're going to grant the winter athletes another year eligibility, which that I know it's a nightmare for a lot of college coaches because of incoming recruits and they have scholarship money thrown around, and it's going to be hard either way. But like you said, I with all the interest that Tommy Askey is in receiving, selfishly, I would like to see him. I would like to see him wrestle at a big time Division I school, because I know that he's capable of really excelling there.
100%. I thought, and you've seen you've seen more college wrestling than I have, but it seemed like he definitely has a college style of wrestling that, I mean, to me, he already looked like a college wrestler this year in my book. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, he's really just straightforward, solid on his attack. Keeps a good stance, keeps a level head. No, he's never really, like I said, he was taken down, fairly quickly, kind of in the state final, and that never deterred him from continuing on and just pressing forward. And he knew that he was going to get that win no matter what.
Yeah, he only gave up 2 takedowns all season. The one to AJ Kovats in the state final, and then he gave up a takedown in a wild scramble to Mike Zerlich of Monroe Woodbury in this Section 9 tournament. So, I mean, he's definitely a guy. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, he's definitely got, and he's a good student, a great kid. Anybody that you talk to about Tommy Askey, and that's what I really have to say about wrestlers. I mean, for the most part in Section 9, the kids are all really top shelf kids. And you look at, Askey, Joe McGinty, Zach Ryder. Those are guys that, if you're a young wrestler and you want somebody to look up to, those are the guys to look up to. I mean, there's many others in Section 9, but the guys who gotten to the top of the state at the state level. I mean, Askey. Wow, I've never heard anybody say anything but positives about Tommy, and same with McGinty. And watching Askey and McGinty train together for the state tournament at Section 9 practices was almost like watching a college practice. Those guys went after each other. They were like mirror images of each other, and I think that's what's good for Section 9. I think that Section 9 really needs to unite and just get together. I mean, because it's a smaller section, so if you have your top guys, going at each other, if it's a Section 9 practice or whatever, I think it's just going to make the area better, no doubt.
Yeah, 100%. Like I spent some time out. Around Long Island and stuff like that, in Suffolk County, Nassau County, and there's like a couple big clubs out there, and all of the guys are training at that. Like all of the guys are training not necessarily with each other, but around each other in the same room all year round. And it's the working together but not together at the same time just will only make the section stronger.
Yeah, kids are going to have different clubs that they go to and the like, but I think that, and the section, McGinty and Askey will graduate, but, the Riders and the Gallows of the world are back, and, Marquesi's back too. I mean, there's some really good young wrestlers in Section 9, and I think that a lot of those guys. I mean, look at Adam Fenner. Adam Fenner was 48-2 this year, 38 pins, and both of his losses were by a point. And one was in the state. I think it was the state quarterfinals where it was a really it might have been a penalty point that was really questionable. That I think it was a 2-1 match. So he's right there. I mean, if he's not in a state final next year, I'll be surprised. There's a lot. I mean, you always look at, well, this group of seniors is graduating. What's going to happen with Section 9 next year? there's not so much of questions with that so much anymore with the younger talent coming up.
Yeah, of course. You got all, like you said, like we had all the success we had this past year, and you only have Apke and McGinty moving on. So it's like when you look at some of the big name state place finishers, and James Boostrom of D2 is moving on as well. And other than that, we're as a section we're getting a lot of key members back. So it should be another fun year next year.
Would be interesting. I mean, and on the D2 side, Port Jervis has some young guys coming up. Some guys that are not even reached high school yet that have gotten some success at the varsity level. So it will be interesting. We're going to sign off in a second, but first we're going to let you know about a project that we're working on for the top 10 wrestlers of the decade 2010 to 2019. So basically you're looking at the 2009 and 10 season to the 2018 and 19 season. There's a lot of great wrestlers there. To narrow it down to 10 wrestlers is really tough. You look at guys who've won state championships. You look at guys who've won state, who advanced to state finals, and you look at guys who have medaled multiple times up in Albany at the state tournament. So I mean, it's good. It's a really interesting project. I'm starting to get some feedback from coaches, and I hope to have that done probably later this week. Probably that's what we're looking at. And man, I got my top 10 list, Josh, but it seems like it changes every day. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you told me about it yesterday, I started thinking, and like you said, do you think you have your top 10 nailed down? Then you think of another name thrown in there. You go, you completely forget about some of these people. Man, kind of go through your mind over the years that are just solid wrestlers that may fall under the radar.
Yeah, so we'll have that list out. Like I said, hopefully we'll have that list out by the end of the week. We'll probably come back and do a podcast on the list and probably just talk any wrestling. If you have anything you'd like us to talk about, if you have any, maybe I can get some athletes or coaches on a podcast, no matter what the sport, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can get me on my email, sinterdonato@th-record.com. You can find me on Twitter @SalInterdonato. Shoot me. You can shoot a message on Varsity 845 Instagram or Twitter. We want to give some people. We want to give you guys some really things to take off your mind during when we don't have any sports going on. So that's the ideas with these podcasts. We hope to do a couple more down the road. Josh, it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. I'll look forward to the next one.